Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another Fat Man Reviews Walt Disney World Rides and Attractions. So we most recently had a trip to Disney World in December the 15th, 16th, and 17th. These are the specific rides that we rode over that trip that we haven't ridden or I haven't talked about before that we rode this time specifically. Just going to talk to you about the seats and the way they fit with me. Again, I'm 6'2", about 480 pounds. So let's go over some of these. The very first one on the list, we hit EPCOT the first day, and me and the boys rode Mission Space. Mission Space was awesome. It was a great ride. I will tell you, if you're prone to motion sickness, it can be a little troubling. At the very end, I kind of got a little like vertigo almost, and that was on the green side. I didn't even dare to ride the red side, orange side, whatever the more intense side is. I will tell you, basically, when you get into this ride, it's like a capsule. Don't try and walk into it this way. Turn sideways, step into it, walk sideways to your seat, and then sit down. Once you sit down, open the container in front of you and store all your stuff. Then you pull a harness or restraint over your shoulders, over your head, and it buckles down to your shoulders, much like the Stitch attraction in Magic Kingdom. Again, it wasn't terrible. I was comfortable. Nothing poking me in any kind of funny ways. I wasn't uncomfortable at all. The next thing that happens is the entire front panel folds into you, so it's an immersive 3D experience-ish thing. If you're claustrophobic, stay away from this ride because it's literally sitting almost on top of you. You've got enough space to move your arms, and there's a joystick in front of you and plenty of buttons to play with. So I will tell you from that perspective, if you're claustrophobic whatsoever, stay off this ride. It's a small, dark, enclosed space, and everything is right on top of you. But again, 6'2", 480-ish pounds. I don't know what I've lost since October. I fit comfortably. My wife rode it. She fit comfortably. I'm going to do that, though. I'm going to bring her in real quick and let you guys take a look at her because there was a ride that we both couldn't ride together. But other than that, she rode Mission Space with me and the daughter the second time. All right, so I'm going to bring my wife in to talk about Mission Space real quick. So what were your thoughts on Mission Space size-wise?
So for me, Mission Space, of course, I can ride it, obviously, but I get motion sickness pretty easily, usually, vertigo. So for me, it was kind of, I don't know what the right word is.
Were you like nauseous at all?
I got nauseous, but it wasn't like to the point of throwing up. Mostly what you need to be concerned about is the claustrophobia aspect of it. That screen comes in really close, and so you can, if you have anxiety or claustrophobia, you're really going to start to feel the panicky part. But the seat itself was not super uncomfortable. It was easy to ride. It wasn't something that was, hurt your hips or anything too bad. It is a moving ride, so it does move a lot. If you're uncomfortable with that, that's something that you're going to want to stay away from. But mostly is the screen folding forward. If that's something that you don't like, definitely stay away. It's very overwhelming at first, but once you kind of sit there for a minute, it's not as bad.
Just for future, I'm going to bring her in for a couple other ones too. You're a 3X shirt. Mm-hmm. Is that guys or females?
This is a guy's 3X shirt.
Okay.
And I'm a 28, well, depending on, the pants, but I'm a 28 usually, for pants. But, a lot of my weight is carried in my hips, my butt. My middle is not super bad. It's easy for me to move around this part, but my chest is larger. So it can cause some problems with the rides as well. So anything over the shoulder, it can cause issues.
Which this one had an over the shoulder restraint. Was that bad or anything?
It wasn't bad. Because they're the type of over the shoulder that just clicks down to where it's comfortable, it's not as bad. Sometimes it might not feel like it's clicked down enough, but the way that they make their rides, it's it's not as bad, so it's still going to hold you in place. It can be uncomfortable top-wise because if you're being moved a lot and you hit, it can kind of hurt, but it's not when you're on the ride, you're not thinking about that, so it's not as bad.
Okay. I'm going to bring her back for some of the other ones that she rode with us as well. The next thing that we rode that we've never ridden before was the Frozen ride. It was okay. As far as seating goes, it is a bench seat boat. You step down into it, you sit down. I would say even being 6'2", I had a decent amount of leg room. Of course, my knees are going to rub against the back of the boat. I'm 6'2". That's going to happen. Beyond the seating, though, the Frozen ride was just okay. There's no way I'm going to stand in line for more than 20 minutes to ride this ride again. If we're ever going to do it, I'm going to fast pass it. Because A, there's not a lot of big rides in EPCOT, so you might as well use a fast pass on that. But beyond that, it was kind of boring. Like, yeah, it went along with the movie, and if you have little kids who are totally into the Frozen ride, they're going to love it. There's a few little drops where I think you go backwards a little bit, and then there's a one big drop at the end. So there is a drop to this ride, so if you don't like heights or you don't like drops or anything, that can be a bit concerning for you. But as far as fitting, it's a perfectly easy ride to ride. It's perfectly accessible. If you're a bigger person and you're worried about riding rides, this is a ride you can do. I will tell you it's very short. It just follows the movie, and it's not really worth the wait time. Along with Frozen not being worth the wait time, they made a decision with this one not to use animatronics. There's animatronic bodies, but the faces are done with a projection screen, and they don't look right. Anna and Elsa's skin tone from here, back, and down is one color, and then their face is a completely different color. I wish they had just stuck to the original animatronics, though. Again, it's an okay ride. The projected faces and projected eyeballs on like Sven and Olaf really pull me out of the ride and enjoying the whole ride as a magical thing. So I gotta tell Disney on that one, like, that you should have stuck with animatronics. A lot of your animatronic rides are great. They look great. And I think it probably would have been best to stick with this one as well. I'm even okay hearing the animatronics kind of click as the eyes blink and the heads move, but the projected faces was a bad idea. The next thing in EPCOT that we haven't ridden before with our new annual passes, but we have ridden before previously, is Living with the Land. I love Living with the Land. It's an easygoing boat ride similar to Frozen, so again, plenty of space. You can get in, your knees are going to rub the front of the bench, but if you're 6'2", it's going to happen. If you're a bigger person, it's going to happen. But it's not an uncomfortable ride. I enjoyed it. But it's such a relaxing ride. The first part, you're just kind of seeing a few little different scenes and stuff, and it's talking about, climates and how things grow. But then you go through Disney's garden section, and it's gorgeous. This one was themed with Christmas, so there was a sand snowman. They had some red bows on the winter melons, and they had a couple like Disney baubles and stuff like that. I love Living with the Land. It's just an enjoyable ride. Even if you're not fast passing it, it's usually no more than like a 20 or 30 minute wait. And to be honest with you, for it to be like a 10 to 15 minute relaxing ride in the air conditioner, it's totally worth it if you want to get off your feet and kind of enjoy something. So Living with the Land, easy to ride, very accessible for bigger people, and it's enjoyable. That's all we really rode as far as being at EPCOT goes that's new. We did get to explore World Showcase. I'm sure you've seen that in the vlogs and all the different amazingly gorgeous Christmas decorations that they have. The next day, though, we did head over to Hollywood Studios. So we got to see so many cool things in Hollywood Studios. It's gorgeous, it's amazingly decorated, and for the love of everything, there is Star Wars galore. So the first Fast Pass we had for the day was Star Tours. I went into this with a little bit of anxiety and trepidation because back in the day, when we had our original annual passes, I tried to ride it and couldn't ride it. Same thing happened this time. So keep in mind the way I carry my weight. Most of my weight's like right here. And for that ride, the handles on the seats are very high and the seats in front are very close. So if the seats weren't so close, I might have been able to like finagle myself into the seat and been okay, but then I had to add a seatbelt on top of it. being in a middle seat in the middle row, there was no way I'm getting into the seat with my body proportion. I couldn't angle right enough to keep the bars at my hip and slide back in. So I got on it and had to immediately walk off. I knew even just sitting down that wasn't going to happen. So totally bummed me out, but again, I kind of expected it to still be the issue. But you know, come this time next year, hopefully I've dropped enough weight that I can ride it. Now, Kristen was able to ride it, but she carries her weight differently than I do, so she's got more of the curvy figure, whereas like I'm barrel, like this is barreled, and then I kind of like, I go a little bit thinner to my thighs area, but she's not. So like for her, the chair kind of comes right here above her midsection, so she's able to sit in it. And was it comfortable? Was it?
It's not comfortable. It's not a comfortable ride. It's actually hurts a lot. And the way that you have to sit in those chairs is you have to put your butt on like the very end and then slide back. It's very uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me, but the way that ride works is it's a force ride, so it moves a lot, and with them being right there, it jerks your body, and it's very painful actually. And I don't particularly enjoy that ride. Our kids do. So they like it and it's good for them, but being a bigger person, it's not a comfortable ride. It jerks a lot. The ride itself is okay. It's basically you're in a X-wing or whatever the ship is, and you're flying through, you know, the different places, and it's kind of neat. They pick somebody out in the group of people that are sitting to be like a spy kind of situation, and they post their picture on the thing, and that's kind of neat. And C-3PO's in the cockpit, and that's kind of cool. But other than that, for how uncomfortable it is to just sit in it as a bigger person, I would not recommend it for bigger people that don't like to be jarred, because it's a jarring ride, or don't like the bumping and things like that. If you love Star Wars, you should try it, absolutely. But if you have a problem with being jarred, moved around a lot, and you're uncomfortable with things hitting your hips and your sides, don't try to ride this ride.
Okay. The next ride on our Hollywood Studios tour is going to be Toy Story. Love this ride. It's so much fun. I can see why people wait a long time to ride this ride. Because it's a game, so like you're competitive against the people in the cart with you, but it's basically a draw a string game on a little toy gun, and you're playing little mini games. You're shooting dinosaur targets and throwing pies and shooting rubber darts and things like that. It's a great ride. It's super fun. If you can fast pass it. As far as riding the ride as a bigger person, it's not a big deal. My wife and I can ride side by side together. We never have, because we've always got the kids with us. I rode by myself this time and had plenty of space. It is a lap bar, so it does pull down. But because it's not one of those rides like a roller coaster or anything like that, they just want the lap bar to go down and touch and not click back up. So I'm sure those lap bars have to go a certain distance to click before they'll click in place, so that they're not just being pushed back up. But it's not an uncomfortable ride. You pull the lap bar down to where it's comfortable for you, and you've got plenty of leg room, you've got plenty of room with you and the other person. Like I said, me and my wife can ride it, or me and one of the kids can ride it. I would even say me and both kids could ride it, and then one of us just doesn't get to shoot, play the game. So Toy Story, bigger person friendly, great ride. So definitely check it out if you're going to hit Hollywood Studios. Make sure you get a fast pass though, because that is a really it's a really long wait, because Hollywood Studios is such a small park, and so many of their rides are either shut down or because it's expanding as the park goes. One last note with Toy Story ride though, it is a 3D ride. You do have to wear 3D glasses, so I wear glasses, and there's no taking mine off and putting those on. I'm still blind. I am able to put the 3D glasses over top of my glasses. The queue for this ride is awesome as well, because it looks like you're in Andy's bedroom, and you're like the size of a toy. So keep that in mind. It's super awesome. It's a lot of fun to play. The next thing on my list that we did after Toy Story, we also did the Frozen sing-along show, and I'm going to tell you right now, 100%, this show is 1,000 times better than the Frozen ride. Basically, the way the show works, you've got Anna, who comes out with two Arendelle historians, and then Anna goes off to find Elsa, and these two historians sing the national anthems of Arendelle. Basically, it's all the songs from Frozen. Now, the cool part about it is the historians add their little bit of flair. They're usually off in the side wings. I included some of them in the vlogs. I'm going to post the entire show eventually, but they add their little like funny faces to the audience, and they interact with the audience, or they call people out in the audience, and there's a lot of humor to it. They call out the fact that a wooden sled explodes. They call out falling off a mountain and landing in soft snow. It's a super funny show. If you get a chance to see it, go see it. I will tell you this though, seating wise, it's similar to Mickey's PhilharMagic. The seats themselves seem like they sit very low to the ground. It's on a decline like this towards the stage, so the seats are very low to the ground. So that was a little weird figuring out because I'm so tall, but it wasn't a terrible thing. I will tell you, I basically sat on the edge, slid back as far as I could, and then leaned back in the chair to watch it. I did have the handles of the chair kind of poking me in the sides here, and that was a little bit uncomfortable, so sometimes I would lean forward or whatnot. But the show was so funny that I kind of forgot about it a lot of times. So as a bigger person, the seats are a little bit more uncomfortable because, you know, the handles kind of poke you in the sides and stuff. If you carry a lot of weight in your midsection and less in your legs, it's going to be even harder to sit in, so I will tell you that. So just be careful with that, again, if you do carry a lot of your weight here. For me, I'm able to like kind of turn and twist a little bit. It was definitely easier to sit in those seats than it was for like the Star Tours. The next thing we also did while we were in Hollywood Studios is we went and visited the One Man's Dream Museum. Years ago when we had our passes, I wasn't even aware of this place, so we never visited it. And for me, this is like being in a museum of my mind, because you get to see all these creative things that Disney did and how he did them and all the things about his life. It's just a really amazing museum. And then at the end there's a movie, and it kind of it basically goes over everything the museum does. It talks about his life, and it shows old clips of Walt Disney and him building Disneyland and Disney World and all these amazing things that he did. It's a really beautiful movie. It's very touching. It's very endearing. The seats are similar to the Frozen sing-along show, though. If you carry a lot of your weight here, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, but again, we're all big people, and we've all been in those situations where the chairs are, you know, chairs are the epitome of the hardest thing we deal with in our life. If they've got arms, we know it's a problem. So keep that in mind with that one. The chairs are a little bit uncomfortable, but again, I was so enthralled in this movie, and it might just be because of my connection to Disney as like a creative person, that I kind of got lost in the movie and forgot about the chairs for a little bit. So, and it's only the arms that are uncomfortable. If you can manage it through PhilharMagic and Frozen Sing Along, then you'll be totally fine in this one as well. The other attractions, we did do a lot of meet and greets while we were in Hollywood Studios. So we went and saw Groot and Star-Lord. That was cool. Baby Groot was awesome. It wasn't... I really liked those movies, but it wasn't as like, woo, amazing as I'd hoped. The queue for it's a little compacted because of where they've shoved it. Some of the pictures turned out a little dark. The guy that got playing Star-Lord kind of looked like Chris Pratt, and he did an awesome job, but this is one of those situations where, because Star-Lord has a helmet, they probably could have put this guy in a helmet and it'd been okay, and then it's not pulling from the fact that he doesn't actually look like Star-Lord. But Baby Groot was awesome. He's super cute. He talks and stuff like that, so that was awesome. We also did Star Wars Launch Bay. Star Wars Launch Bay. That is awesome. Okay, we met Kylo Ren, we met Chewbacca, we met BB-8. There was so much Star Wars memorabilia and so many Star Wars models, and it was so amazing. And then like after BB-8, it dumps out into like this art room, and there's so much gorgeous art that if I was a millionaire, I'd have bought every piece in there. It was just gorgeous. And then of course the Star Wars themed gift shop is at the end, and there's so many cool things in there, magic bands and phone cases and RC droids and lightsabers. It was so cool. Because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, this was like my favorite part of the whole day, next to One Man's Dream. So Again, if you get a chance to go in and do these meet and greets, go in and do them because Chewie looked awesome, Kylo looked awesome, BB-8 was cool. It was a lot of fun. You know, BB-8, he talks and he moves and makes noises. Chewie doesn't talk, but he does make the Wookiee sounds. Kylo talks. It was so awesome. Launch Bay is definitely worth it. The last thing that we did in Hollywood Studios, it's the very first time ever doing it, we went and saw the Indiana Jones Stunt Show, and it was awesome. I loved it. So it's just a bench seat. No big deal. It's not that big of a thing. It's a theater. If you've ever done the Beauty and the Beast show, then that's kind of what it is. It's just when I say bench, I mean bleachers. It's like they're bleachers basically, and it's just tiered. So it's super easy to sit. I mean, unless just sitting on cold bleachers or metal bleachers is uncomfortable. Bring a pillow to sit on so your butt doesn't go numb. It is kind of a long show. The standby queue and the fast pass queue were a little weird. You're kind of like weaving through the jungles and stuff. But it's a super fun show. Ours was awesome. When they pull in some of the audience members to play certain parts, the guy they pulled in to do the death scene was so into this. He was completely enjoyable and super funny. The guy who's the fake audience member was excellent. The stunts they had him do during the fight scene were super cool and they were super funny. If you haven't seen the Indiana Jones Stunt Show, go see it. It's super fun. It's well worth the time. You get to sit on your butt in a theater and just enjoy it. I don't know, maybe during the summer it might be a little bit hotter because it is out in the open, but I'm sure they've got fans and stuff circulating. But again, it's just a super cool show. Alright, so our final day in Walt Disney World this trip, we took over to Animal Kingdom. We got there super early before the park opened by like 2 hours because we wanted to ride Flight of Passage. That was the biggest goal of our day. What Jordan wanted for his birthday was to ride Flight of Passage. So that's what we did. We got there super early. There was a ton of people there by the time they started letting us in. Even by the time they fully opened the park and let us walk and go through the queue and stuff, we did just almost basically walk on till you get like right before you go into the room that scans you. The queue for this ride is amazing. Even if I knew I couldn't ride this ride, just standing in that queue for 2 hours isn't that big of a deal once you get into the queue section. Now, if you're in that part of the queue that stretches back over the bridge into Africa, I can see why it's super boring. But once you're in the actual queue, it's gorgeous. It weaves on up into the mountains, so you get to see the waterfalls up close, all the plant life. You get to cross a wooden bridge. This queue is gorgeous. I was probably taking it back more on that queue than anything else. I was like stopping and filming and getting pictures and things like that. It was, you guys, this queue was amazing. But what you're here for is to find out how this ride went. Neither my wife nor I could ride this ride. Here's the thing. It had nothing to do with the legs and the thighs. Because I hold most of my weight here and because my wife has a bigger chest and everything, the chest piece that's supposed to kind of wrap around you that you're supposed to lean into, it hit here and stopped. Like, I still had a good foot before I was even getting close to the front of this thing. I literally would have had to have stood up and like bent over the entire seat before I was even going to be close to getting the back up. And I think that was kind of her problem too. Well, what was yours? Come tell us. So for me, again, I couldn't get my chest far enough forward for the back restraint to lock. But I mean, I got my legs in fine.
So mine wasn't that I couldn't get in. I got in because you can maneuver this part of your body if you're a girl. But mine was my butt. I couldn't slide far enough forward in the seat for the back bar to lock in place. So whenever you get into this ride, it's kind of like riding a motorcycle type situation. They have you sit all the way forward, and so anybody who has a big butt, your butt sticks out. So in order to slide all the way up, you couldn't get far enough up for the bar to lock in the back. So that was mine.
Yeah, I couldn't get my chest far enough into the front restraint to really do anything. So she and I did have to hop off this ride. However, they just put us right outside the door to the ride, so the kids were still able to ride, and they totally enjoyed it. They loved it. They said it was worth it. If there had been a 2-hour or 3-hour wait, they were willing to do it because the ride was that much fun. So I will tell you, if you have the ability to ride this ride, go ride it. Just from their love of the ride. I will tell you though, because we couldn't ride it, they ended up giving all of us 2 extra fast passes that day to use. One we used on Navi River Journey, and the other one we went and used for Everest. So
it was 2 fast passes. One had to be for the river journey, and one was to use on whatever other ride we wanted.
I don't think that's necessarily
true.
true.
That's what she said.
That's what she said, but I don't think that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
So because we couldn't ride it, they did give everybody in our party 2 extra fast passes. She did tell us that one of them had to be used for Navi River Journey. I don't think that's the case though, because they're just put in as fast passes. So again, the kids love this ride, and once I slim down and I get down there, hopefully I'll be doing it. Again, my thing is like, I'm a big guy, but like it all stops right here, so I'm barrel chested, and I think that was where my issue was being barrel chested, and on top of that being heavy set. So maybe next time. After Flight of Passage, the next thing we went and rode was Everest. That's not the next thing we rode throughout the day. There were some other stuff, but we've already talked about those. But Mount Everest is the ride that we've never ridden before. None of us have ever ridden it ever, so that's what we used our fast pass on, was to go ride Everest. Jordan didn't ride it. He doesn't like roller coasters that are that big and that intense, so he and I sat it out. Christian and Allie and JJ went and rode it, and they totally loved it. Then Allie and I used my fast pass and Jordan's fast pass, and we went and rode it. Now, I'm going to tell you, this was my very first roller coaster ever. As a kid, I didn't like roller coasters. I didn't ride them. And I've kind of been jonesing to do a big roller coaster. No, it's not the biggest. I'm not even sure I could still do a roller coaster that flips and turns you and loop-de-loops you. But for my first roller coaster and to ride it with my daughter, this roller coaster was absolutely amazing. Now, before I get into the ride itself, we'll talk about seating. It's basically 2 separate seats. It's 2 people in one cart, but it's 2 separate seats. So there are kind of armrests, I would say, on the cart, but they're really low. They basically just keep you and the person beside you from slamming in each other and one person squishing another. It is a lap bar, so you have to pull it down until it clicks. I didn't feel like mine clicked far enough, and I'll explain to you why. But then again, my first time on a roller coaster, so that may just be the trepidation I had. So like, I got it locked, and she's like, all right, lift up on it. I'm like, okay, yeah, it doesn't come up, but I still feel like it should go down a little bit further. Guys, I'm not locked in place enough for my comfort. Why doesn't it go down further? So that's just because I'm a bigger guy, so once it hit my thighs, that's as far as it was going to go. It wasn't going to click anymore. I will tell you, leg room, I had a decent amount of leg room. My knees did rub the front, and it did rub the bar, but I wasn't uncomfortable. So I'm going to give you an amazingly fun tip. When you take off on the roller coaster, it's kind of cool, but when that roller coaster goes to climb up that mountain, tilt your head back and lay it flat against the back of your chair, because if not, you're going to slam your head into that chair. Because it's kind of a jerk, like as it clicks you onto it. Once it gets to your car and it clicks your car on the up ramp, it jerks it. So like I was like this, and I went wham and slammed my head, and the lady behind me was like, she looked at her husband, she's like, I told you to lay your head back. I'm like, I really could have used that advice about 5 minutes ago. So that was a little interesting, like slamming my head into the back of this seat. But then basically you're up this super steep incline, and I mean, it goes high. If you have a fear of heights, probably not the ride for you, because I could look over and see the entire Animal Kingdom park. It was trippy. Like that throws your senses for a loop. You're like, I am too high and too close to death. So, but it was fun. It was absolutely fun. So you get up the ride and it kind of shoots down. There's not a lot of big drops right at the beginning. You basically do a lot of fast G's into the mountain, and you're like, it's really pulling a lot of speed, and then you get up to the top and the rail's broken, and then you basically go backwards. And I mean, you're going backwards fast. So if you don't like to go backwards and you don't like to go fast, Everest is not the ride for you, because a good portion of this ride is backwards. But that's what I enjoyed the most. Like, I couldn't see anything coming, so there was no way for my body or my mind to be afraid of anything. So it was like, just let it happen. We're going backwards, we're going fast. Now, the big drop, where you basically, it's like the anti-gravity drop, you can see it from outside the ride. It's the big one. I came out of the seat, so like I'm hovering in the seat, and at that point I was like, this is where I die, right here on Everest in Walt Disney World. But I didn't. It was super fun. We hit the bottom. It was just that feeling of being weightless. Don't know how astronauts do it. But I mean, the bar caught me. You know, it held me in place. I wasn't going anywhere. I think that's the point where I'm like, I wish the bar had gone a little bit lower and clicked one more time. But each seat has an individual bar, so Allie's was perfectly tight. It was so much fun, though. I loved it. It was, for it to be my first real big roller coaster, I would stand in line for an hour to ride that ride, 2 hours to ride that ride. It was a blast. If you like roller coasters, you've never ridden Everest, and you're a bigger person, get on this ride because it's fun, you can fit in it really easily, and it's enjoyable. The last thing we did that was a ride at Animal Kingdom that involves seating and whether or not you can fit as a bigger person is Kilimanjaro Safari. Again, you're just in a giant truck, and it's a bench seat. We did Fast Pass this one. Would I wait in line the hour and a half for this? Kristen says no. I would. I enjoyed it. It's peaceful. You're just out on this open landscape looking at all the animals. I was comfortable. Kristen and I sat in the back seat by ourselves. We probably could have put 1 or 2 more people in it. It's easy though. You know, it's comfortable. I don't remember that my legs rubbed the front seat. I had plenty of leg room. I had the backpack sitting beside us. It's a really fun ride. It's not like crazy intense, but to see some of the animals that you would never see in your life, or like our zoo doesn't have hippos or wild dogs like African wild dogs, or they've got a few elephants, not a bunch. They don't have both species of the giraffe or like some of the buffalo and stuff we saw. Some of the trees were really cool, those upside down trees. It's a really fun ride. If you've never ridden it, it's definitely worth a shot to ride it at least once so you can see all of that. So definitely check out the Kilimanjaro Safari. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the new stuff we rode this time. I'm kind of running out of rides to review as far as what we can. I'm kind of running out of rides as far as new stuff. Send me an idea of a ride that's in Walt Disney World that I haven't reviewed yet that you would like me to review. I do know I've still got the Mine Train, the Splash Mountain, and the, oh man, what's the one in Adventureland, the roller coaster? I can't think of the name of it, but I know I've still got those to do. If there's any more, Goofy's Barnstormer, we need to do that one as well. If there's any other ones that you'd like me to ride to kind of give you my review and the comfort level of those rides, let me know. I think what I'll start doing, trying to get the family more involved, is have Kristen record me getting into these rides so you can kind of see how I do it, because some of it is just a matter of like finagling my body size into the ride. Once I'm in the seat, I'm completely fine. So, but let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video, any questions or concerns you might have. Again, if you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, hit the thumbs down. If you like what we got going on here, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you know when our newest videos come up. Follow me on Twitter. The link's in the description. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. I hope they help somebody out there. I love you guys. Till tomorrow.